Hi guys, how you doing? So I'm going to give you a little lesson today for your drawings, sponsored by my About Faces drawing course, which is all about how to draw faces, because so many people struggle with faces, and I know that you do because I struggle with them so much too. And I've been teaching them for a long time. I overcame my fear of drawing faces, so I can tell you specifically every tip I use when I draw a face, and I'm going to give you some right now. The only thing I want to mention before I start is that my About Faces course, for people who sign up today, it's linked in today's post in my feed, get a free video call with me, which means that when you're working on your faces, you can sit and talk with me for a long time through whatever part of the course, whatever things are coming up, like after you've done some sketches. If you're having some recurring problem, we can talk through them. I love this part. I love how every time I come on to talk about one little thing, it expands. Like, I'm already so excited. Okay, because there's so many tools involved in today's tip. So huge lesson in all of my teachings is the way that our perception is different than reality. And this is a good lesson for all of life. All of life. The repercussions are huge when you start changing the way you see and the way you be. So when you look at people's eyes, they're huge. Of course they are. This is the windows to the soul. It's so deep. When you look at someone's face, you see their eyes more than anything. And there's this confusion between symbols and concepts versus facts. So the eye is really a whole, and I can prove this to you if you've ever tried to draw a face before. And I've had so many beginner students in my classes, so I know what usually happens, and I know what happened for me when I was a beginner. The eyes are wildly out of proportion. They take up the whole face. They're just huge. And that's because of how we perceive them, how important they are to us. But we can get control over that when we learn about proportion. So I'm going to talk to you about that specifically today. I'm going to give you the best tool ever. So hang on. But one thing is to be aware that the eyes feel so big, but they're not. Step 2, awareness. The eyes seem very close together, particularly with me, because my grandfather from the south of Italy, his eyes were very close together, and so are mine. But still, I'm going to prove to you that they're not as close together as you think, and I'm going to teach you a proportional tool. Now we have this awareness that the eyes aren't as big as we think they are. Their impact is huge, but visually, they are not that big. They are also... Tip number 3, people are always drawing the eyes way up high on the face or head. And so this is where perception comes in again. When we draw faces, words become problems when we draw. The face is this, right? It's like a single plain thing. But we're really drawing heads. You never want to draw a face. You're drawing the whole head with a face on it. It's all integrated. Hair, features, face. Okay, so the eyes are halfway down the face, and I can prove this to you. They are not way up here on the forehead, which is the way we perceive them, because the top of the head is here. So I always start sketching by drawing like an egg shape or an ellipse or an oval, okay? But that shape doesn't represent the face. This is the face with the eyes high up on it. Represents the head, and the top of my head is not the top of my face. The top of my head is back here, and you see how that takes up proportionally. If I go like this, then my eye, proportionally, that hairline down from the crown of my head is this long. And what I just did is show a proportional tool. This shows top of head to eye to chin. You see that it's equal? Hang on. Of course, this is only true for a frontal view. If I go like this or like this, the rules change. But let's start with a frontal, full front. Okay, so, and also when I say the eyes are halfway down the head, you may be like, Well, that's confusing because the eyes have a top and they have a bottom and da da da. So what I always do to keep things simple, because for me, simplicity and structure is everything, makes everything easier. The eye line just represents, imagine you join the dots from like the out corner, this corner, this corner, this corner. It's as if I had a ruler that just went through the middle of everything. So after I draw an ellipse, I love teaching drawing without drawing sometimes. I think it's important to get other input sometimes. So imagine I had a ruler line just halfway down that face or down that head. Now, the other way that you can measure proportions like this, and this tool is so insanely important because we are always drawing what we feel more than we draw what we really see, which is why we can draw beautiful things, but they don't. What is proportion? So many people think proportion, the definition of proportion is drawing fashion people with legs that are 20 miles long. That is nothing about proportion. Proportion is about truth. And proportion is about the relative measurements of things. So if I know that the top of my head, did you ever see the artists going like this with a pencil? There's several reasons artists do this. One of them is because I can use my pencil when I'm looking at something to measure. Look, I'm measuring from the top of my head to my eye level, and I'm marking it with my thumb. Now I'm going to compare that measurement with eye level to chin. And I can see it's the same. And I can double check. The only thing is that doesn't work if you start going like this and like this because foreshortening. See how the pen is now taller than my head? And here the pen is smaller than my head? So when you do that, you need to be like kind of metric about it. Okay, but eye level to chin equals eye level to top of head. Contrary to what I feel when I look at the eyes, especially because the brows are up here and the crease is up here, but the eyes are really halfway down. So you can use proportion either with your pencil or with your fingers. One last fabulous, I'm glad we just went over proportion because this is about using proportion in the opposite direction. So we just looked at length proportions of how to place the eyes on the head. Well, remember I told you early on that we usually draw the eyes too close together? You can use your proportional tool either with your fingertips or your pen and measure corner to corner of the eye. Basically, how long is my eye? And compare that to the space between your eyes. And you will be shocked and amazed. Even looking right now, I am convinced there is no way that the distance between my eyes equals the width of my eye. No way. But I can prove it. And you can prove this from any subject you're working with or any photo you're working with, that the space between your eyes is equal to the width of an eye. And that's going to save you from squeezing the eyes super close together like so many people. I hope that was an eye-opening lesson today. And then you can use that to start sketching faces. I mean, we even started to talk about was placing the eyes on the head, but like this is huge. And actually the tips and lessons I just shared with you have repercussions everywhere. Like proportion, being able to compare, for example, the length of the head to the width of the head. Like you will so often find that things that you think, I think my head is longer than it is wide, but as I do the math with my pen, I might be very surprised how close they are. It is longer than it is wide, but not as much as I actually think. So facts always help you with your drawing. Just simple facts. So you can fix emotion with facts. Now, About Faces class, I just want to make clear that the actual About Faces class teaches you all the things about drawing faces that you can do with pencil in your home. However, in the course, I do teach it using a pencil that's on my iPad and watercolor that's on my iPad. So not only are you learning how to draw a frontal face, a profile face, and a 3/4 angle face, which is like the most challenging, like a rotated face. I also teach you how to use some of my favorite apps that I use for fashion illustration based on 20 plus years illustrating with pens and gouache and watercolor. I finally bit the bullet a few years ago and started exploring some apps on my iPad mini, and I was very resistant to digital art because I thought it was too flat and too cold and too slick. But I found some beautiful apps that all have their own personality. And I want to make sure that you know about the special. I think I mentioned it at the beginning. Can't even remember now. That if you sign up today, Sunday, you will get a free video session with me this week because my schedule's wide open. Very wide open. So we can have a video call, just you and me, to go over whatever hurdles you came through with, or you can show me the results of some of the sketches you did in the class and get the feedback. Not just feedback. Feedback meaning, I want your feedback. Tell me what you didn't like, what you did like about your drawings, and I can totally help you take it to the next level. This is what I do. This is my joy. I love making those discoveries with people because it's not about you're talented or you're not. It's always about how you think about yourself, how you think when you're creating, what your beliefs are about your drawing. I can't wait to meet you. I'm Laura Balbatesta.